Hello, it's Martin Hargrave here. I just want to wish you all a really Merry Christmas, and I just want to say a thank you to everybody who's been involved with my the new channel, which has been going for nearly a year now, which is quite incredible to think. It's really been fascinating to learn all about the kind of everybody's journey into badminton. Starting off, I suppose, Colin Campbell was my very first interviewee, Martin's dad, who's a badminton lover from the north, from the Black Isle, I think they call it, up in Russia, and is all about his kind of entry into badminton and moving down into Edinburgh and developing a family of badminton with his family. It's been absolutely incredible. Alan Evans, aboard as Edinburgh's chap, lives in Bonnyrigg, absolute lover of badminton, really dedicates all of his being to his sport and his family, and a good friend of mine. Speak to him very, very regularly. He's in the same club as me, and I've known him for quite a number of years now. So Bruce Aitken from Fort William, actually another lover of badminton from Fort William, and really keen on developing the sport over in the west of Argyll, and kind of bringing players on and making a really big community of badminton. Douglas Walker is a name that everybody seems to know. It was amazing to meet him. Actually, he's a coach originally from Leith and moved up into kind of the west side of Edinburgh and has developed an amazing name. Everybody you talk to in badminton, most of the people I've interviewed have kind of passed through the fingers of Dougie Walker's initial coaching and kind of moved on to county level or national level even. I mean, everybody in about Edinburgh certainly knows Dougie Walker. Stuart Bell's a Dundee chap, actually moved to the Borders and now heavily involved with running the Borders Badminton Handicap Tournament, which runs kind of once a month. So anybody keen in Edinburgh would like to go down and play occasionally, just reach out to Stuart and he'll point in the right direction. Really amazing chap, and again, like everybody, most people I've interviewed, a great lover of the sport. Moved on there to another good friend of mine who I played with in East Lothian, Aslan Buchikola, who's originally from Portrush. Again, lover of badminton, great player to be fair. So I've met him, I've known him for a long time, but it was all about him growing up playing in Portrush, and I met a number of players over in Portrush on the back of that interview, which was fascinating. Samuel Nasam is from Malaysia and has moved over. I think he's in America now. He's a preacher, I believe, quite a religious chap, but again a lover of badminton. Grew up with badminton. Obviously, in Malaysia, it's the heart of the community kind of thing. So we're all learning all about that. That was my first kind of experience of international players, I suppose, of any description. Kevin Stango is a name that everybody knows in and around Scotland, Scottish badminton around the 80s. Him and his brother Gary were really keen badminton players as well as golfers, and he moved down to England, and he still keen to play down there. And I met him. He came up to Edinburgh, and actually he's heavily involved in running the Badminton Memories page on Facebook, which is all about badminton back in the day, I guess. And it's really fascinating to see all pictures posted, and people. It's fascinating. You should watch that interview. It's definitely worth a watch. Suzanne Zwane is heavily involved with Western Badminton Club at Edinburgh, which is one of the big names in about Edinburgh. Probably the most elite, I would say, the most elite club within the Edinburgh area. So it's certainly a very, very competitive club, and it's lovely to meet Suzanne. She's also heavily involved with running the Lothian group, which represents the county for play as well, and involved with Lothian, really heavily involved in running the evening tournament, which runs every year, and it's really hard with a young family to kind of invest the time in doing this over a space of 5 days or something. So good credit to her, and everybody really appreciates all the work that she does on that front for sure. Peter Hardy's a good friend of mine from the Borders. His father's also Peter Hardy. He's heavily involved in developing a lot of players in and around the Borders for badminton, and Peter's obviously was taught by with his daughter Claire, being heavily involved, heavily coached by his father in and around Duns. And if you're in the Borders area, and you'll certainly recognise that name. And most of the great talent that have come out have developed so many amazing players run through his fingertips, and really brought on the sport, and it's still to this day. Duns has just got a name for badminton actually throughout the Borders. Stuart Ferns is another traditional Western player, lives originally from the Black Isle up north in Inverness area, and that was a fascinating interview with him, all about playing up north in such remote areas, and how you get games, and how you get how you find competition, and how you get facilities and that kind of thing. It's quite amazing, these such rural locations, to get amazing quality of play, and it's absolutely fascinated me, the quality of play you can get in around the north and the islands as well. And I've met some amazing players, but just throughout my journey over the year, I've just met so many amazing people, and just everybody seems to have such a love of the sport, and it's in our hearts. I think it's kind of grows up with you. And I said that in my own interview when I interviewed myself, that I've never met, and it just is testament. There are all these interviews that totally there's nothing in it for anybody, and I just absolutely love everybody's willing to spend their time. I spent about an hour with each and every one, and I've learned so much and met so many amazing people, and it's just grown so organically, so thank you for that. John Henry was from Selkirk, actually, as a Borders chap, moved to down south for quite a number of years, and moved back to Selkirk, actually, but a really nice player, and he's just one of these players who you can see when somebody's been coached, when somebody's had ability and they play to a good level, but you just become a bit rusty over time. If you don't play for a few years, you lose it all, kind of thing. Unlike me, I lost it and never got it back, but John's definitely still got a lovely technique. Laura Muir's done amazing work with her daughter Iona, and Laura and Nikki, to be fair, have done a great job with Iona, who's just over the last year just seems to be absolutely blooming and blossoming into an amazing player, and that's a real name to watch out for, Iona Muir. I think she's going to do amazingly well. She's only still very young at this stage, but I can definitely see her kind of moving on to the international stage. Aileen Travers, that's fascinating, from the Perth 20, wife of Dan Travers up there, and daughter of Sheila Nairn, who have chatted several times with on Facebook, and is again an example of how things grow. I interviewed Aileen, and then on the back of that I tend to meet her mum, or I've tried to get Dan on, but he's not having any of it. He's not very unsociable chap, that guy, Dan Travers. Although it's a contradiction to what everybody tells me. Everybody says he's such a sociable guy with so many stories, but he would come on. However, I've tried. So, Willie Hislop from Carluke, actually, started playing at school, and just lover of the sport, and still to this day, I don't know, must be 30-40 years on, he still absolutely loves the sport, and he just started actually getting some more coaching with Paddy McHugh, who I was fortunate enough to meet as well, and he's so again, a lovely player. He's also about 8'12", so that helps. Harry Turnbull's another Borders chap, good friends with Stuart Bell, and again, Borders folk very close. Small community of badminton players, and bringing everybody together. And his daughter Laura's doing a great job in the Borders, bringing badminton into the Borders, continuing to be in the Borders, I should say. Brian Thompson's the Dallas Keith chap. I met him through Dougie Walker, and he's all about love badminton, badminton in the day, and heavily involved in the 80s kind of the badminton memories game page that Kevin Stango's and the Stango brothers work on. And I love badminton, but hopefully he's developed in that interview. He would love to come back to the game. It was mid-COVID and everything was closed down, and he was talking about coming back to play after. I hope he manages to do that and step out of the golf for a little while. When it's an indoor sport. Come on, Brian, let's get back to it. Steve Thompson from Ayrshire. I know he's had a little bit of injury. He plays men's doubles in the Masters with Ross Gladwin. I met him. That was lovely interviews from Ayrshire, and all developing. It's amazing badminton in these smaller areas, and how busy it was, and how that was a really interesting interview to find out about how many, just incredible, it played. They had so many people coming every week, and there were people setting off, and they played to 10, I think, and had a blackboard. I remember that interview really well. Andy Cook, amazing coach from Grangemouth. I talk about him a lot, and I'm just so much respect for that guy. He's a student of badminton. He learns it, he teaches it. To his own admission, he was never an amazing player, but he's a student of badminton. He watches and he learns. He learns all the techniques. He reads about things, and now with the blossoming with the internet as the way it is, he's just learning all the time about different techniques, and still to this day coaching at a ripe old age. So respect, muchest respect. I met Jordan Hart actually from my sister. My parents actually live in Pembroke, so it's Pembroke Dock. So my sister introduced me to this Jordan, who's a Welsh international, former Welsh international, but now playing for I think it's Russia. I want to say Warsaw or something. I can't exactly remember, but she's involved with heavily involved with a very she's involved with Steve Butler, who's over there now as well, and developing her techniques. And they've got a really good infrastructure for training and coaching. And anybody interested in learning about Jordan, she's become a social media star. So you'll find her on Instagram, Facebook, and that kind of thing. They're always posting videos about where she's going. I know she's had a very, very difficult time with COVID, being stuck abroad, and she's a real, like most small communities, real family girl. So I know she missed her, and God love her for that. So she's back home at the moment, back in Wales, which is really great to see, and I hope she's having a fantastic break. Martin Campbell, lovely to meet Martin. Mostly, I guess it was through his dad. Haven't met any of these people before these interviews really, apart from a handful. Martin Campbell really met through his dad. It was all about his developing into badminton, being coached by Kenny Middlemas and developing himself. And I wanted to learn how to, Kenny was at the top of his game, and he just wanted to get there and was determined to get there. And that was a really fascinating interview about wanting to beat him, and eventually getting to beat him and thinking, right, okay, I've done it, and kind of moving on. Went to Loughborough University, where there's obviously great contingent of badminton players and great facilities for badminton, as well as doing obviously studies. So that was a fascinating introduction. On the back of Martin's doubles partner was Patrick McHugh, and that was all about his kind of entries into men's doubles. His both of these chaps, I guess, are they're now kind of thinking about their future careers. Martin's doing really well in his own new business, and Paddy's the same with Power Press Coffee, which is a caffeine-based kind of energy substitute for, I guess things like anything where you need, bursts of energy kind of thing. I know his brother, I think, was well into CrossFit, and I've seen a few videos of him pulling about a few weights. So that's so he's doing really well in that, as well as his usual coaching and developing people. Good friends have been over from the east, have even been over there. So that's been really interesting as well. Adam Hall was a really fascinating interview, all about his getting into badminton and, from over in Ayrshire and that kind of thing, and developing the area that he grew up in. It's just a small community, the small community hall, and his love for a building which he learned in, and the same building, I believe, as Holly Newall, who I came on to interview as well. It's such a shame for the community that facility went, but it was an absolutely fascinating interview about his introduction, his love of the sport, and sport as a whole, actually. Julia Hogg is a Fife-based badminton player from heavily involved with coaching nowadays, but she, a lover of the sport, heavily involved in badminton back in the day, and played with her sister Karen back in the day, and again another a very keen member of Badminton Memories page on Facebook, where they're learning all about so things that happened in the past. I missed Peter. Peter Sawkins has done really well. I saw him play at the evening tournament, doing really well with his singles, and I think he's got a book. I think he's even got a baking book out now, which is really, really amazing on the back of his win at the 2020 Bake Off. And it was really good to watch actually this year as well. And I've had some chats with him online about that kind of thing as well. So lovely chap. Played through the Boys Brigade and travelled the country. Actually played for Boys Brigade representing Scotland, and did really well with a group of friends. But it's just amazing how this has just grown, just organically grown from one. It's just amazing. There's Martin Campbell talking about money. He started his own business now, a St James Place business, helping I guess not just athletes, but obviously there's a keen interest in athletes, and it's such an early retirement age, and you just have to prepare yourself for finishing work in your early 30s and thinking I've got your life in front of you, and when there's a high, there's got to be a high, or even just putting money aside for a rainy day. So he's doing a great job with that. It's hard to start any business. He's credit to him. He's done a fantastic job. Caitlin Pringle doing really well for Scottish netball. I always get a hard time for netball or volleyball. It's netball. She's representing Scotland in netball, and she's got the height for it, no question. That was a fascinating interview. A lover of badminton through her dad, who was involved in the sports shop, and I think it was the Craig Reedy Centre. That was it. Again, you watch all of these interviews, they're just fascinating. More about Andy Cook, all about coaching Karen. I'll forget the name there, Julian. I need to repair that, Andy. I got a hard time for that. Julie Hogg and Karen Stalker, and Jim Mailer as well. I met through Andy. I met some amazing players as well. So there's again this fascinating interview. You should watch that. It's on the channel. You just need to look at Talk Badminton on YouTube. Alex Dunn, great men's doubles player. partner with Adam Hall. My interview is really it's an introduction to badminton, how people got into it, and why they love it and how they developed onto it. I know there's a lot of people that are professional players that really see it as a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, I suppose, that don't really want to talk about it. So I really appreciate any of these professionals who you really fight to you work and work and work all the hours that God sends to play badminton, coach, and probably to come home and talk to me about badminton when I've got such an hobbyist passion for it. I guess it's really appreciated. And Sam McGee, that was a really interesting interview with Sam, all about badminton. He grew up in Ruffles, huge family of badminton players, and they're just lovers of the sport in a small community. And like a lot of these small communities, maybe it's a good thing that there's not much to do but go to badminton. And if you're fit and you're keen on being, if you have time and you have facilities and you have access to facilities, then you really can develop to be amazing badminton players, which is, I guess, it's probably you can see it from all the interviews I've done so far. One key thing is access to facilities. All these people have had really good access to facilities, cheaply and freely, and it's either that or being all through family or that kind of thing. So everybody's got their own story. That was the idea, just to try and bring on those stories for the younger generation. If anybody's thinking about becoming a professional or thinking, can they make a career of it? I hope some people might watch this and think, well, if they did it, then I can do it. There's certainly a lot of cases with Sam McGee's interview is fascinating. His sister Chloe moved over to Denmark, and it kind of paved the way, I suppose you would say. To realise that there is a career, there is money to be made, and you can make a living and pay a mortgage and buy a house and all the trappings that people want. So Chloe is hesitant to come on. When I say hesitant, she won't come on. I've asked her about a dozen times and she doesn't reply. So maybe Sam, if you see this, or Daniel, please have a word. So anyway, it's a huge badminton family, huge family from Ruffo on the west side of Ireland. Again, lovely to meet her. Joey. I'm watching too much Friends this holiday. Jordan Hart, part 2. Poland, become a professional. That was a fascinating interview about how she's moved over to Poland and away from Wales, where the facilities are there so much better. And facilities and infrastructure, I guess that I shouldn't say better, but they just have a good infrastructure, which all just comes from geography and a number of players which you would never find over in South Wales, I suppose. Kieran Merrill's an amazing singles player and really brought out a lot to help on Callum Smith, I know he's heavily involved in singles coaching now as well. He's obviously been an exceptional singles player himself. So credit to him. He's done a great job. He's just got a new career in, I think, software sales for recruitment software. So that's fascinating. Good luck to him and all those ventures. Again, it's one of those situations where you get to your early 30s and your career's over. It's really difficult, but it's great to see people moving on and finding something new that they can get their teeth into. Lyndon Williams, lovely Welsh name there. Heavily involved in Paralympic badminton around Scotland, and also heavily involved in badminton Wales actually as well. And he's just the loveliest chap and a great interview. You should catch up with that one. He's it's synonymous with badminton, Lyndon. God love him. Eddie O'Neill was a fascinating interview originally from Ayrshire, moved up, I think it was Dumfriesshire, was it? You need to watch Dumfriesshire, and then moved into East Kilbride, moved over to East Lothian, and became a coach, keen running coach as well, always been a runner. And he kept coaching juniors through in Haddington. There's a lot of great talent run through his fingers, and East Lothian's got a great name for badminton on the back of that. So that was a fascinating interview. Colin Leslie was my first interview with a para player. He's a double amputee player. A terrible incident caused his disability. However, lover of the sport and always has been pre-disability, and he's doing really, really well. I saw him recently in the English Para Championships over in Sheffield. That was, I think it was last month. Doing really well. He's a lovely chap and really frank and honest, and just hilarious conversation about badminton. And they're just amazing. Just watch that if you get a chance to. Josh McGee, great singles player, again from the McGee family. Was a singles player traditionally, lover of singles, moving into doubles now, and is just perfecting his skill, I guess, at the moment for working in the National Irish Badminton Centre. Again, thank you for that interview, fascinating one. all about kind of growing up with a family. Again, more about the family of badminton. Let's see, where would we go next? That was my introduction. Jim Mailer, lovely chap from Stirlingshire, great player, singles player in a huge competition with this chap over here, Bruce Flocker. That was fascinating. They were both coached under Andy Cook at the same time, and to compete against each other. They were the biggest competitor for a number of years. Their biggest competition was themselves, and Andy Cook agreed to coach them both at the same time. And they just played against each other, and it's fascinating to hear about how somebody can be coached by the same person. Absolutely fascinating. This music's getting a bit wacky now. Introducing myself, not so interesting. Leslie Jewett, former Scottish national, that was fascinating. He's in Northern Ireland, coaching with Para in Northern Ireland. Should watch that, catch up with that one. Originally from Scotland and moved over there, and he's doing really good work with the Para in Ireland, which is fantastic. Martin Campbell and Pat, that didn't really work, if I'm honest with you, that interview. The video, just the technical stuff that goes around. I've got a new broadband provider now, maybe better now. I should maybe try it again. I was hoping to get a commentary of their own games. It was a good idea, and it was actually really popular, but it was just very, very difficult to do. That was really fascinating. Rafael Sachetat, who's the founder of Solibad Badminton, who's doing such amazing work for raising money for all around the world for usual basic functions for third world countries, water. And I think at the time I was fascinated by Solibad, and I was just obsessed with badminton and thinking it was about giving free badminton rackets to people, but it's really not. It's all about clean drinking water and all of those kind of things. And a lot of athletes are donating percentages of their prize monies to Solibad Badminton, which is, God love him. We've got credit to them. And he's a photographer as well and done amazing work. Most of the pictures you'll see from tournaments from all around the world will be from Rafael and his team. So doing some fantastic photography as well. Like I say, if you watch out for his name, you'll see it. And that absolutely fascinating. I organically met a lot of people on the back of it. Alan was a fascinating interview with it. He was a Scottish badminton coach, and I think he's moved on now actually, but he was involved in Hungarian badminton. Lover of the sport, been developing it for a number of years, and he's brought a lot of great talent through his fingertips. And he's coaching juniors and coaching badminton players isn't an easy thing. There's a lot of big characters in badminton. And then you do need to have a confidence and potentially a little bit of arrogance to be an exceptional badminton player, which can't be easy to coach. I'd take my hat off to anybody that coaches junior badminton players. I wouldn't like to be anybody that coached me at that time. I was, you're so willful. Is that the right word? Yeah, I think it probably is. But anyway, he's done an amazing job, and he's brought some fantastic talent through his fingertips in singles, doubles, and mixed. It's fantastic work. Daniel McGee, it's terrible, isn't it? So, anyway, Daniel's coming back on. That was an interesting interview, particularly because my microphone wasn't working. So my microphone was working, and I was having a conversation with him through Skype, and I have all my questions all lined up, and I'm asking questions, and he's answering the questions, and I'm recording the whole thing. And when I uploaded it, I realised that my voice hadn't recorded. So it was actually really popular. And when I went back to him and said, listen, there's a real cock-up because you can't hear my voice. He says, oh, it doesn't matter. There's loads of people liked it, and it's been really good. And I've had loads of comments back. And I really wanted to do it again. But at the time, he didn't want to. But I've recently reached out to him just over the last couple of days even. And we're going to do it again in the new year. So that I'm looking forward to that. And maybe next time, his words were, maybe next time we'll not do a guess the question, because it is a little bit like that when you listen. On the back, so Daniel's the performance director for Badminton Ireland. Really interesting subject. He's coaching his brothers and sister, and heavily involved in coaching his. I don't know if he's doing it directly, but it must be very difficult to coach siblings. I would hate. I can't imagine But it was a fascinating interview, and you should watch it back if you get a chance. I'm sorry, I'm rabbiting on. I've been on for 25 minutes without taking a breath. Dave McGill's doing great work over at Badminton Ireland, Chief Executive of Badminton Ireland, which is all about his badminton. And I know he never really played badminton, but his love of sport. And it is a difficult thing. Everybody that's involved in badminton thinks that you've just got to be a lover of badminton to be any use to anybody, but it really isn't. There's a lot of business to badminton. There's a lot of business to sports facilities. And you've just got to have, you've got to have a love of sport, which I know he has, and you've got to have a passion for helping people and developing great facilities, which I know he has really well. Colin Campbell, fascinating interview. Scottish veteran player, started playing really, really late in the day, in his 50s. He's been an exceptional Masters player, a musician, great personality, and that was a fascinating interview from his conservatory and a really good laugh. So thank you, Colin, for that. That was really fantastic. Alan Martin, from originally a Greenock player, is heavily involved. I think is actually the chairman of Scottish Archery, which is fascinating. And a badminton player back in the day, travelled, and all about his starting into badminton. Like, it's a common theme, starting in badminton, how he became started travelling, thinking about becoming a professional, thinking about if you can make a career of things, all the facilities that go on at the School of Sport, all of those kind of subjects. It's just fascinating. On the back of meeting Raphael, managed to meet Justine Kamal, who's now a good friend of mine, who's from the south of France, who's actually moved over to Denmark and working for Badminton Europe, involved in developing kind of coaching courses, and coaching, is it called? I don't know if it's called coaching, but anyway, so she's heavily involved in that and doing a great job over there, and an absolute administrator. She'll tell you that herself. I've never really thought about administrators being particularly talented, or I just think it's a bit mundane, but she's a lover of administration, if you know what I mean. So just organised. I mean, it is a talent. It's an amazing ability to be organised, to be so organised to the nth degree. It takes a real kind of, I guess it's a project brain, somebody that's really logical, and again, lover of the sport, loves badminton, and in Denmark, definitely the right place for it. So that was a great interview, actually. Tom Gocklin, great badminton player, who's involved as he's a sports nutritionalist for Scottish Rugby, and so I talk about kind of health and sport and how important it is what you eat and how you go, especially particularly within rugby, how you coach somebody and how you train a team to eat healthily, and then as soon as they go home not knowing what they're going to eat, that kind of thing. So it was all great insight into nutrition and sport and how important nutrition is, and how you persuade somebody to have the mentality in their own mind. You can't be in front of somebody all the time. Excuse me. So that was a fascinating interview. Also a great badminton player. He hasn't been playing much recently because he hurt his thumb. Yeah, you heard me right. He hurt his thumb. On the back of amazing, actually. On the back of Raphael, I also met Dominique, and Dominique is involved with a team of players in Java, in Indonesia, and Nafia is now a good friend of mine. Is in Canada, and at the time when I met her in the middle of last year, she was going through. She's preparing to go to Canada, but obviously in Indonesia, she's really keen to expand her knowledge of English language and that kind of thing, and Dimas as well, and generally I guess there's a lot of travelling goes on in Indonesia across Europe, and they just have a love of badminton. It's just in their blood, and they're in a training facility over in Java, which is and they're really underprivileged people. They're actually bringing people into accommodation. They're and they're playing badminton, and I've seen them on court. There's another video later on court, and they are exceptional players, and you can see why Indonesians are exceptional badminton players, because they breathe it, and they play for hours every single day, and then they go home after playing for hours and play with their friends out in the garden. It's just unbelievable. So that's a really, really fascinating interview. So that was Nafia and a group of friends over in Indonesia. Isn't that amazing? From starting something, interviewing like 2 or 3 friends in the south in about Scotland, to just develop this huge following of badminton players, and just everybody loves the sport. So it's amazing. Duncan Grant, again up north, great badminton player, great singles player, and just I think a PE teacher, and just a lover of badminton. I've seen him play in so many competitions and do so well, and the loveliest chap. And so he's obviously living up in the north. I think he's struggling to find a game. Hopefully, since we had that interview, he's had some opportunity to play some badminton and play more regularly. Jennifer Evans, a good friend. Alan Evans who was my second interviewee's daughter, who's I think she may be 20 now, but she's a great badminton player, a lover of the sport, and an absolute student of names. She knows everybody that plays from everywhere. I went to the All England with Alan and family last year or 2 years ago, and she just knows. She pronounces the names. I haven't got a clue, to be if I'm frank, but she's just knows the talent. She knows the ability, and just loves the sport. There's more the court action from Indonesia. That's what I was talking about. You get to see that quality of. I'm gonna stop that music. It's terrible. Richard Vaughan, who's over in Australia. He's a former Australian CEO. He actually played in the Olympics, and fantastic interview with Richard. All about kind of growing up playing badminton, how he started, how he's moved, his development. He was involved in Australian squash as well, which was fascinating. Indonesian tournament update, that was fascinating. They actually travelled from Java across to Jakarta to play in a tournament, and we've got a kind of an in-depth view of the driving over there and kind of entering into the competition. They didn't do particularly as well as they would like to, but it was a real eye-opener as to how serious it is over there. And some of the younger players were maybe 10, 11 years old, and there was a real expectation and a real serious, there was meetings to be had afterwards and that kind of thing. And I just found it absolutely incredible how seriously it was all taken. Gordon Haldane, over in Glenrothes, a great badminton player back in the day. I'm not sure actually, I can't quite remember if he still plays. I know he's a hard worker, he's a finance director, and he works a lot, and certainly was a lover of the game. But you need to watch that one interview to catch up on that one. Barry Kinnaird, Rebus Kinnaird, I've made that schoolboy, named himself Rebus on his Facebook page with it telling me he's Barry. Baz Kinnaird, so anyways, keen mountain biker, lover of badminton, broke both of his Achilles playing badminton at one time, fell dead to the floor, and that he explained it in an interview. Hadn't played for years, went down south, met a colleague, went on court, jump smash, and fell flat on his face and went to hospital, and it transpired that he broke both of his Achilles at one time, which they'd never seen before at that time. But that was fascinating, all about his kind of entry into badminton. He was a lover of badminton back in the day. Again, a keen member of Badminton Memories. Gary Stango, Kevin's brother, again also down south, heavily involved in both good, very good golfers, and lovers of golf and badminton. I think their dad was a pro, and Gary's a general manager of the Cavendish Golf Club, I think it might be something like that, Reading area. So he's doing really well at the golf, general manager of a golf club, and again heavily involved with Badminton Memories page, and developing all of that. So that's a fascinating one. Moving on, Lynn Fitzgibbon, Southern Ireland, in formerly Doyle, that's right, Chick Doyle's daughter, who's a name from back in the day. Chick Young, is an Irish institution in badminton, did exceptionally well. I think he was a winner, or certainly a finalist of the All England Badminton, the first Irishman to be the finalist of over that, which was fascinating to meet Elaine. Actually, I can't even remember. I think it might have been on the back of Daniel of the McGee family. I met Elaine, and I go on later to meet Elaine's brother, Connor, who's also a lover of badminton, and there we are on the left hand side, former Irish international player, son of Chick. There we are. His daughter of Chick is Elaine, and son of Chick is Connor. Fascinating interview with Connor. Still plays badminton in Dublin. lover of the sport, heavily involved in organising and running club. And I met Phil McCune on the back of that interview, actually, who's involved with digital media within badminton in Ireland, and heavily involved with Dave McGill and the likes, to do with setting up video and audio throughout. I haven't actually had Phil on yet. I chat to him all the time, but he's a bit shy, I have to say. So we don't really, I've tried to get him on, but I'm fascinated with the technology of video and camera. And he does amazing work. If you look at Badminton Ireland, look at the videos, the live streams that go on from Ireland, it's absolutely massive respect for the investment and the technological advances. People like Phil that do this for the love of it, and I know he spends a lot of his own personal time doing this, but he does love it. So he's doing an amazing job. Without people like him, we wouldn't see it. You couldn't go online and see this. So respect. Phil Sutton, absolutely fascinating. He's down in Surrey, lover of badminton, and all about his kind of growing up in southern Wales and southern Wales playing badminton. I think it was mid Wales actually, and he ended up moving down to Cardiff and playing with Williams' dad, who's a Malaysian down in southern Wales, and so he's Williams, a good friend of mine now, from YC Sports, and so on the back of interviewing Phil Sutton in southern, originally from Wales, travelling, I've met so many people, and again on the back of Badminton Memories, I think this has all been shared through Badminton Memories, and it kind of helps you expand it all the time. Again, another example of how it just expands. Peter Ferguson interviews himself, and it's just hilarious. He talks about going back in the day with just travelling around Ireland and travelling over the Irish border from badminton. It's an amazing, hilarious story in the middle of the interview about him travelling out in the back of night and basically being pulled over with guys in masks on the way to a tournament. I'm not going to spoil it, but you should watch that interview. Peter Ferguson's absolutely hilarious. Holly Newell is grew up playing in Esher with Adam Hall in the same hall, I think, at the same facility. Just that area, I think, is just a massive and a facility available to the community, which is kind of developed around so many sports people. And there's a lot of, if we talks about a lot of what goes on in that area and how many sports people that have come from that area, and not just badminton, in various different pursuits. That was an interview on the left with Phil and Peter, self-explanatory really. I got to mention Steve Wright's BBC Radio 2, that was hilarious, that was fun. Jim Torrance, Glasgow name, his daughter Clara's doing really, really, really well, and his son's also been doing exceptionally well at badminton, and but you'll see Clara on the TV now playing for Scotland, doing really, really well in the ladies doubles with Julie McPherson. Haven't had Julie on yet, but that's a one for another day. But Jim's a lovely chap, runs a club on a Wednesday night in Glasgow that does really, really good work. I think the standard's too good for me over there, but I would like to try one day. I chat to Jim a lot, and Jim's a massive lover of the sport, so love to that guy. Alistair Casey's over in the States. That was him in somebody's garden, actually. He's doing a bit of coaching and over in I think it was, I want to say like Hollywood area. It's like absolutely absurd. He works for Badminton America, Badminton USA, and he's travelled over he was at the Olympics this year over in Tokyo, and fortunate enough to be over at that, which is just absolutely phenomenal. I'm still to have a second interview with him. I had technical difficulties with the first time, and I've still to reorganise that. I'm aware of that, Alistair, I apologise. Billy O'Donnell from Greenock, again, Southern, grew up playing it again in the Badminton Memories page, probably. All about growing up in over in Greenock, and how the sports developed and how the facilities are available, and how many people. I think there's a lot of players that have come through that area, Greenock, into playing badminton. Scott Oates is a great guy. So I met him actually through Lim, who was through from YC Sports. He was a marketing manager there. He's moved on to Badminton England, and hopefully really enjoying his new job over there. And great badminton player as well, does really well on the English circuit. That kind of thing. Is very well respected, and obviously dedicated and love of the game, and hopefully living the dream, Scott, down there, and Scott Porrijotes, as I like to call him, which was cool. Susan Mitchell, Scottish girl from West Lothian, moved over to the States, Canada, and has been there ever since, I think. I know it's so difficult, isn't it, with COVID, not being able to get back, all this, family and that kind of thing. And I don't know what it is about it. When you're not allowed to do something, you want to do it even more, I reckon. So, that's just the badness in you. So, yeah, that was a fascinating interview about badminton, love of badminton, and living out, I think, loving Canada. I think it's a different world to here, obviously. But then missing all family and friends and that kind of thing. Jeff Tho and Henry Wong, that was fascinating. There were a couple of podcast producers in Southern Australia, down in Brisbane. Absolutely amazing how it's just, the spread has just absolutely grown. It's just absolutely crazy. So that was an interesting one to watch. Just all about that, getting into badminton, how they got into it, how they developed. Jeff's done really well in badminton. I know he's involved with coaching a lot as well, so he's brought on a lot. Ray Webster, fascinating Essex-based chap, veteran. Honestly, that if you want to hear a guy that loves badminton, that's your man. Travels to tournaments, coaches, runs, trains. He will travel he travels every single day. He'll travel, and play 4 or 5 hours of badminton. For a chap of his age, is just unbelievable. And respect. He just loves the sport. There we are. Marlene Kay. That was a lovely interview with Marlene. She was, she's done really well. Love of the sport. I don't know if she even plays anymore, Marlene. I can't really quite remember. You should watch that back. That's again West of Scotland lady. Mark Mackay singles. Mark's done really well. He's doing some amazing work at the badminton. He was over in Huelva. Is it Huelva? I don't know how you pronounce that. And he's also up in the Orkney Championships, and I think he won the singles in that, which for an old guy has done really well. It's incredible. Lovely chap. Lives as a farmer on the north coast of Scotland. I think 6 or 7 miles from John O'Groats, or is it Landon? I can't remember. I think it's John O'Groats. Yeah, it's John O'Groats, the north one. Anyway, so he lives kind of living the dream. I remember he was taking his kids, dropped them at the beach at the time to go canoeing in the evening, and what a life that must be. In a little bay, So anyway, so that was a fascinating interview. Both him and his wife have got an absolute love of the sport of badminton, and that was a fascinating interview about how he gets into it and how he still goes and trains all the time, and he runs and he conditions his body, and it's just it's an exceptional men's singles player, and whooping the kids out there. So I love that. Gordon and Graham Keith, that had a few technical issues over that one. They're over in Shetland, and that was a difficult one. Gordon had to come over to the mainland. I think eventually was going to come over to the mainland, but we just had some technical difficulties, and it ran on a little bit. And I think by the time it happened, they were a little bit frustrated. I probably would like a rerun of that one if I could at some point. Martin Lewis, that was a fascinating interview. He was down in Warwickshire, now he's down at Nottingham. But big heart of badminton, great facilities for badminton down there, and it's involved with coaching down the university teams there, and doing a great job, and a fascinating interview, and a lover of the sport, and keen to do something with him in the future. There's going to be some announcements to do with golf, and the badminton golf day coming, I think, on that area and that subject. Which I look forward to be honest with you. If anybody that's into golf, reach out, and there'll be some news coming out shortly to support a charity that's close to his heart. Also good friends with Bert van Dijk. That was an amazing interview. I loved that. Bert's an umpire, BWF, a qualified umpire, but do you know what, I can't actually remember where he is. I want to say Netherlands, and he's just a lovely chap. How you become a coach, love of the sport, how you become a coach, how you financially support yourself as a coach, and it is for the love of the game. There's no question. I've learned that over the last few months that coaching and being a professional adjudicator at these sports events, that it's at your cost. To think that you're making money from it is, it's just, it's for the love of it. And anybody that kind of disrespects people that give their time and their personal time and their holidays. I've just learned so much about people taking their own personal holidays, working full time, and any holidays they got. People with young families flying away and taking their annual leave to adjudicate a sporting event, and then to get can get stick in these things. You've seen quite a lot of these situations arise, and just maybe players should take that into consideration. That these people sitting in that chair are not with their families and probably paying for their own flights. Para coach Richard Morris, just love Richard to death. He's done an amazing job. The boys that went over to Tokyo this year, they've done a massive respect, and he's been in the media a lot, and he deserves all the credit he gets for the work he does. Brought on some great guys, Daniel, Jack, to name but a few. There's so many. Kristen, these guys have just done. Yeah, it's just absolutely phenomenal, the effort that they put in, and it's all the hours that God sends at these things, and it's he's done amazing work. So he's doing really good work with Badminton England. Yeah, Han van der Vliet, that was an interesting one. Han was I met him through Air Badminton over in Holland. I saw advertised an event, an outdoor event in Holland, in the Netherlands. And it was a city central location, and it was just a badminton court with 6 people on the court, normal badminton net, with sand, 3 people on each side of the court. And it was in the middle of the city. It was really well lit, and there was little cubicles going all the way around it. You should watch that video. But he's an organizer. He's involved with organising, and I think he's the match organizer for there's a big tannoy system. There's music booming around. There's beers getting served, and it's city centre. You just walk in, you pay whatever, and you go to your little booth, you order a drink, and you stand there. And it actually turns out it's a pop-up venue for beach volleyball, and they've double sorted it for badminton as well. So absolutely amazing. Leaning A, that was a little technical one, comparing 2 different types of shuttle. I love leaning A plus 30s, 90s, but none of it, to be fair. It's a fickle lot, isn't it, badminton? People like what they like. They don't like to see a different tube, so quite a lot of people say, I like a change. But I quite like to. I'm a little bit of a disruptor, I think, in that respect. A really interesting one with Tahiti. They were travelling around over across to Europe from Tahiti to compete. I think I can't remember where they were when I was interviewing them. We need to watch it back, but they were definitely travelling over to Norway, and it was a lovely interview. A chap heavily involved in organising badminton over in Tahiti. It's amazing. That was good. Peter Sakala, isn't that amazing? I've managed to meet the president of Badminton Europe. It's just from interviewing a year ago, friends in and around Edinburgh, I've met the president of Badminton Europe, and he's doing just a lover of the sport, but a real businessman, a real proper business. Whenever you look at Peter Sakala, if you Google his name, you'll see him in suits, in podiums with almost like just very, very, it's serious. You wouldn't think so, but he's very serious about the sport. Himself and his general secretary are doing great work developing badminton around Europe. And if you want to know about badminton Europe and you want to know how the infrastructure works, he's your man, and you'll just learn so much about how the infrastructure works, where they're funded, where the Badminton Europe get their money from, how they just everything about it was and his beginnings in the game as well. I think he was over in was it Yugoslavia, Bulgaria? I can't remember, but if you watch it back, you'll see. Jal in Edinburgh, I've got a friend in Edinburgh who's from Indonesia. I didn't even realise he's from Indonesia, and I decided to organise an interview with Nafia and some friends, and my Indonesian friends, with a translator. I guess you have the language difficulties whenever you do these things. That was interesting. That was a really interesting one at the top there for service judges. Is amazing, actually, with interviewing a couple of umpires, a couple of European umpires, both from the Netherlands, and how they become a coach. Again, it's just a fascinating subject about how you kind of make your time and holidays, and becoming an officiating at badminton events. I am fascinated by the subject, and like I say, it's if you spend the time to watch it, you'll find out about how people made the decision to do these things, and you'll realise it's just for the love of it. Let's see, where am I? Ian Veach. Moved on to a little bit of triathlon. What I've discovered in badminton is that people that do like badminton tend to be just sporty people, and they like sport. I decided to move into a little bit. So I've got to talk badminton. I've started a page called The Athlete, and I most recently started a page called My Sport. So I can have multiple kind of pursuits in. So I've interviewed a chap, a friend of mine called Tony Fagelman, who's a trampoline coach. I've done trampoline for 50 years on my other page. Please look out for that. Tony Fagelman, Fagelman, who's a trampoline. So he's heavily into gymnastics. Down in Cambridge, has got a trampolining centre. And he's, again, like everything, an absolute lover of the sport. Tony Fagelman, Ian Veach, a try runner. So he's a runner, but he does try. Not a great swimmer by his admission. Great cyclist, great runner. So he gets overtaken to the pool and then gets out and beasts everybody. But done really well all around the UK. Won the Rock event in Wales last year, early this year. So anyway, so I just wanted to. I'm sorry, I've ranted on quite a bit, So I just want to say once again, thank you for all of your support, for sharing the name, recommending people that get in touch to interview. I'm always looking for more people to interview. I'm fascinated with all of badminton. I've got more coming up soon. Eleanor O'Donnell is coming very soon. Andy Ellis to come very soon, with promises of who else? I've got so many. Andy Ellis. I've got so many. I'm constantly nipping at the heels of professional badminton players from all around. But I'm interested to meet anybody that has a love of the sport at any time. So, interview most times, I guess Sunday afternoons or evenings from 7 o'clock. And so, just reach out, please. Drop me a message. And my name is Martin Hargrave. You'll find me on Facebook, Messenger, and you can email me at talkbadders@gmail.com if you so fancy, or you can just drop me a line on the bottom of this. Okay. Hope you all have a great Christmas, a happy New Year. Stay fit and stay healthy, and hope if you haven't been playing badminton, please get back to playing badminton. And if you do play badminton all the time, good luck and stay fit. Bye just now.